Board of Trustees to order on Monday, December 16th at 6:30. We have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've got the yellow car.
Yellow car.
Yellow vehicle.
That's money, George.
Yeah.
My car still has a
Turn
car,
down.
right? I think that pretty much everybody here be.
Or was cheering us on. That's good.
Going along with it.
Item 4 is public appearances, public's opportunity to speak on any subject not specific agenda item. Item 5, discuss and consider the meeting minutes from the regular board meeting from December 2nd. Any edits or additions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Got it.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? I abstain. Excuse me. Item 6, unfinished business, discuss and consider building inspection services agreement. We have a memo in here. Matt, anything else to add up to this? Or Lee?
No, there were just those two changes that Lee referenced in his memo. We were just looking to get in writing that their commitment to the office hours that was discussed in their proposal, and they're agreeable to that. And then we felt that the agreement initially read like they could potentially annually change their fees, and we felt that they certainly have the right to review the fees, but nothing happens until the board agrees to that. So they were fine with both those changes, and they're meeting with Tom to start a transition on Wednesday, and meeting with our staff too.
I'll make a motion to approve.
With conditions?
Under those conditions, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And just so you know, this is, we also took a look at least one other community that has them as their building inspector, and the contracts are virtually identical, and the attorney that I talked to, Monona's attorney, and they said that they've been pretty happy with them, so.
Good.
I'll second.
Motion second, thank you.
I do have a question though. What are we doing about the fencing? Because it's not in theirs, right? Are we going to be taking care of that, or? I didn't see it in here.
I thought that they said that they weren't going to take care of fencing.
They were not?
It
Right,
wouldn't
but
be.
then we would have to somehow.
I think the weed commissioner,
That-
where do you grow weeds? Next to the fences, so,
Right.
okay.
I mean,
I don't remember them saying that they would not do that. They were just saying there's not a lot that you can really do about fences, in the sense that the only way to really, if you want to be real accurate, is to have a survey done. So that's always issues with fences, is that would be cost prohibitive for someone to do that. So that's why we ask that they stay at least 3 feet off the property line. But ultimately, it's the property owner's risk that's putting the fence in if a neighbor disputes it, that sort of thing.
Just ask them on Thursday.
Yeah, we can clarify fencing, but
um,
I would think they would
I think they said what you're saying, Matt, that they obviously would do it, but it wouldn't be cost effective for them to do it because of the surveying and stuff.
Yeah.
That it's something that usually municipalities do themselves.
So do we need to figure out a way to do it ourselves?
there's not much you can,
so people can just put up fences. Is that?
No, it's still a screw. Let's
get a
talk about
permit.
inspection.
Okay.
I think we want something in their property file that at least they're giving us a plan of where they're putting it. And we'd want to check to make sure it meets the fencing ordinance, but we can't verify where their lot lines are.
So when somebody wants to put up a fence, they come here and get a permit, and then we give that to them, and they give us like a map of
Well,
where we're putting it.
Tom I mean, it's handled, so
Okay.
we'll make this part of the transition meeting, figure out
Yeah, who's going to do it?
how best to handle it.
Okay, and then the other question I had was, so with them having office hours, do they, like if somebody, like Tom came every day to get permits, or, so are they going to be, or is it all by email or computer now, or like how is that working?
I think that's gonna be part of what we're gonna figure out on Wednesday.
Okay,
I think the office hours are more if people and builders have questions or need to talk with them directly,
Oh.
will come in during those times.
okay,
But I envision that it'll be a lot more electronic than what it is currently.
I'm sure they'll still do it also on appointment. This would, we'd be looking to get them on a regular schedule. What they were looking at was between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it might not always be that, but we try to get a regular schedule so people know that they can pop in at those times without an appointment.
right,
But they could also still make an appointment for a different time.
good, great. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Having heard that, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Item 7 is new business. Discuss and consider operator's permit application for licensing year July 2019 through June 2020 for Dustin Hughes. No issues, Chief?
No issues.
I'll move to approve the license for Dustin Hughes for licensing year July 2019 to June 2020.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion second then. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Item B then is discuss and consider resolution 2019-13 regarding election inspection appointments for 2020 through 2021.
Do you want me to cover that?
You're our election
Okay.
specialist.
So we do this every 2 years. It's just basically appointing our election inspectors. You will note in there that we can appoint more at any time if needed. So these are the people that have been asked or have put in that they have an interest and have gone to some of the trainings, if not all. Some of them have been on there for years, so they're well versed in elections. So that's what this is about, and it needs to be approved by December 30th of each year, or every other year, I should say. And then I just wanted to make one note, this is not totally related to this, but notification of non-candidacy is due December 27th, and declaration of candidacy and nomination papers are due January 7th of 2020. So just a reminder.
See, I told you you're all knowing when it comes to elections. Any questions on that?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2019-13, reference election inspector appointments for 2020 through 2021.
I'll second that.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Motion second. He had more words than you had to do, so there you go.
It's all right. It's Christmas, hopefully.
Any further discussion, questions? Otherwise, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item 8. This is reports from village boards, commissions, and committees. The first one being law enforcement, and this is to discuss the employee assistance program agreement. Chief, you want to say anything about that, or?
Yes, this is the EAP component of the wellness program, and it will be for all 32 village employees, offered to all of them. It costs $704 per year, all inclusive. And I confirmed with the gentleman that sent us the invoice and the agreement that there are no extra costs. So everything you see in the contract is what we will get, and there shouldn't be any out of pocket. And if there were to be, then it would have to be pre-approved. Seems like a relatively small amount for what we're getting.
Yep. It's like insurance is a good thing to have.
I'll make a motion to approve the employee assistance program agreement.
Second?
Motion second. Any further discussion or questions? Having heard none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Item 2 is the library planning committee.
We met on December 4th, and Tracy Harold with the Dane County Library Service was there, and she provided information on what the DCLS provides to libraries, which includes the bookmobile, which services areas without a library. Residents in those communities, including ours, pay a library tax in their county taxes, so people with a library don't pay the county tax. DCLS has been around for 50 years and has a collection facility, but it's not for the public. The collection goes out on the bookmobile. The bookmobile makes 16 stops per week, 8 to 9 hours per day, and 300 miles per week. Stops in Cottage Grove, as you all know, on Wednesdays from 2 to 4 at Dublin Park, and then 5 to 8 at Piggly Wiggly parking lot. And we talked about if we could, she gave us these, I should pass these up, sorry. She handed out this information about Cottage Grove residents' use of nearby Dane County libraries, which show the bookmobile use kind of going down every year, and then the residents kind of use at actual libraries going up a little bit. But it's all pretty steady use throughout each year. It just varies where it's at, where people go for their library services. The bookmobile serves families really in our community, but also is for people of all ages. When the market crashed in 2008, usage at libraries increased everywhere because people were staying home and not going on vacation as much, so they were borrowing books too, and audio and movies instead of buying or renting. Utilizing the programs and services of libraries more. We touched on maybe that with the bookmobile that we could see if it were to come on a different day possibly, that maybe we'd get more usage too. So we're looking into that, but the bookmobile has a tight schedule, so we'll have to look into that further. We made a motion to consider hiring a survey company and are reaching out to UW Extension to hopefully come to our next meeting to help us figure out how to do surveys or focus groups. And we're putting together a list of little free libraries in our community, and I think we'll talk about it at our next meeting to hopefully then come back to the board to ask if we can put it on our website and Facebook page to get a map out there of where each one is in our community so that residents have that at least to plan their little excursions throughout our community. And then the Friends of the Cottage Grove Library meets the second Thursday of the month from 6:30 to 7:30, and they were in the parade this year, handing out candy. And our next meeting is Monday, January 13th at 6:30.
Thanks, Melissa. Utility Commission.
All right, Utility Commission, we met last week on Wednesday, the 11th. We had a pretty light agenda. The main thing we were talking about was the Vilas Road interceptor, where the utility is planning at some point in the future to put in a new sewer service line that would make future development possible. So we authorized the use of impact fees to come up with a cost estimate for designing the water and sewer extension in that area. So we have an estimate of how much that's going to cost, and then future impact fees would pay for that, or future developers could pay for a portion of that, just so we kind of have a ballpark figure on what that looks like in the future. That's the main thing we talked about. JJ, do you have anything to add?
Nope, that's good.
Okay, our next meeting is January 8th at 5:15.
And Heidi, I'll send a follow-up to AT&T, since it was done this time, that didn't have it done.
Yeah, they weren't responding or something.
No, well, they responded, they just said that they, I had sent it to him after the last meeting, and then he said, well, I'll send it to my team. But the team apparently didn't get it done.
Sure. Okay, thanks, Lee.
So it's January
8th,
all right.
so an early one.
All right, thanks, Heidi. Community development committee.
We met on December 12th at 5:30, that was this Monday, last Monday. And we looked over goals, objectives and policies, and then strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that were created previously. And then we looked at this chart from May, I think it's from a May 16th, or May 2016 meeting, where we listed our strengths, our weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. There were just a few adjustments that we were going to be making, only because of what we discovered when we started going through it, is a lot of the things that we had, a few things, I should say, not a lot, but a few of the things that were considered weaknesses are now starting to become strengths, because we're actually like one of them was lack of housing diversity. Now we're seeing a trend where that's starting to become the case, that we are getting housing diversity happening in the community. So therefore, it's not really a weakness. We're moving towards that being a strength. The other one was relationship. There was the wording. We didn't like the wording. The history of problematic relationship between the town and the village. It just seemed, like, is it really problematic? Is that something we really want to have in there as a weakness? What we wanted to do was move that down into the opportunities and leave that as, a room for improvements in that relationship and working together. And then it was pointed out by one of the members of the CDA that a lot of these things that we're talking about will be addressed through our marketing. So we agreed that at the very next meeting, which is going to be January 13th at 5:30, we're going to evaluate the goals that we would have for our community now, and how looking towards marketing will be a big part of that, and getting the word out there, not only to our own community members, but outside the community, and what that all looks like. So we're just kind of in that beginning stages. And like I said, May 13th, or I skip ahead, I wish, right? I wish. January 13th, and then we did approve the Mad Rap ad. It was very similar to last year's, just the picture kind of zooms out and you see more of the commercial stuff that's happening in Cottage Grove. So, on a side note, I went out Saturday night with some friends of mine from the town who don't come in the village very often to do things. And we took them out to Oakstone, and they were very impressed in all the things that were going up out there, and all the stuff that I'm like, yeah, this is just the beginning of what's happening in our village. So they're pretty excited. They were excited to see the new stuff going on in the corner there, and on Gaston and on N, and so, yeah.
Have we gotten any feedback from businesses that they say they saw the ad in the guide at all?
Oh, we didn't discuss that.
Yeah, the main thing, it's a way to support Mad Rep. They do a lot of things for us, and this helps them publish the guide that they use in a lot of different places.
I think it's beneficial. I'm just wondering if we had any leads from it or anything.
No, people don't usually start with that, but I think it's another way to kind of put it out there to the right audience that we are doing things, and there's stuff happening here.
Right.
No, was it last year we shrunk the ad up, or was it?
Yeah.
Good, yeah, so I mean, we recognize that the cost, just keep it, we don't really need to have a big ad in there right now.
Right.
The stuff that we're doing for the marketing in the future is going to be a big part of what will take place and get our name out there.
And the thought too was just maintaining some form of a presence. As you flip through that magazine, just about every significant suburb is part of it, so it probably wouldn't look good to not be in it. It's one of those things too, and but it is hard to quantify it's hard to quantify the direct benefit to it.
And how was your conference, Aaron?
Good. I distributed the notes for it at that meeting, and we're going to discuss it in more detail after we had a chance to look at it, because the conference was like
Right.
the day before the
Very
meeting.
fresh.
But it was good.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Then moving on to reports from village officers. Lee, legal briefings.
Well, I would say that I was misquoted in the newspaper, but they didn't bother to call me, so I wrote their article, but it was nice, and that's really all I have to say right now.
All right. We'll move on to item 10 is communication, miscellaneous reports or business, consideration for vouchers. Any questions there?
I'll move to approve vouchers.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstained? Motion carries. Correspondence, I didn't
I don't have any
get
either.
it. Nobody sent us any holiday greetings or anything that we've gotten yet, so. But if they do, I'll let you know. So nothing there. Upcoming community events.
I guess I'll just throw out there, first full weekend in December next year is Christmas in the Grove. This last year was very successful, so, well, it's under upcoming, so I have to talk about the next one. But I think it was a pretty successful event. Thank you, Chief, for leading the parade.
It was my pleasure. Nobody got run over.
And if you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, the video, Derek did a great job on video of the event too.
Oh, is that on the YouTube?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I guess I'll mention, under the upcoming meetings, there's a public relations meeting this Wednesday, the 18th, at 5:30 here at Village Hall.
Is that just to go like over what cable things we're gonna get or?
It's. I think the big thing is to go over the 2021 plans for technology type things.
There was a $15,000 equipment budget approved, and when we met on the budget, our kind of cable consultant, our past employee, Andrew Day, was giving us some recommendations, but now that we have someone in place, not talking about using, within that budget, he just has some other recommendations that we want to discuss, so.
Great.
All right, future agenda items.
Where are we on the emergency management director? Is that posted or what?
We'll be posting as soon as possible, yeah.
So that's not quite a future agenda item yet?
No.
Maybe not
Future.
December of next year, but.
Maybe the second meeting. Early February. Any other future agenda items? We'll have the usual suspects as well, I'm sure. All right, and then, then we'll move into item 11, which is a closed session of the Village of Cottage Grove. I make the motion for the Village of Cottage Grove. Board will enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing in public funds,
Just check to see
or
if
conducting
she's here.
other specific public business where competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session. This closed session is for negotiations of TID 5 and negotiation in terms of developers agreement with Monona Grove School District. Will enter into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses F, considering financial, medical, social, personal histories, disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or investigation of charges against specific persons except where par, parentheses B, applies, which, if discussed in public, would likely be substantial adverse effect upon reputation of any persons referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations, in this case, operator's license application. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. Roll call, please.
Lindberg,
Aye.
Russell,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Valencia,
Aye.
Radcliffe,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Bye, JJ. Have a good holiday.
All right, Jen.
Good.